Last month, I was invited to preach up at First Unitarian in Rochester, New York. It is the church where I grew up, where I attended Sunday school as a kid and youth group, where my mother was on staff and eventually was ordained to serve as their minister of religious education when I was a teenager. I've been invited back a few times to preach in the church where I grew up, and it is always a joy. This summer I had the extra joy of sharing the service with a worship associate named Jenna Cohen. Jenna is a young adult who grew up here in our Binghamton congregation, and as an adult, she is now a member up there in Rochester. And Jenna snapped up the chance to be my worship associate when she saw my name on the schedule. I mention all of this to be able to tell you about a particular experience I had while I was there. They do the opening words for their services each Sunday morning in a particular way. It is now a well-worn tradition among them. The worship associate or some other selected person tells a personal story. They call it a "that's why we come to church" story. Each week, someone tells a short personal anecdote, often lighthearted, occasionally poignant, that reveals a basic human experience of connection or of insight, and the story always comes around to make the point, and isn't that why we all come to church? So Jenna's story, which I'm not going to share because it's her story, not mine to tell, and if you want, you can certainly ask Jenna sometime when you see her to tell this story. Jenna's story was a bit of a sneak attack because while it was about her, I played a supporting role in that story. She's up there and she says, "And my minister at the time, Reverend Douglas Taylor, supported me." So her conclusion, and that's why we come to church, to support each other through the good times and the hard times. It was very touching, very relatable, a little difficult to get up afterward with a dry eye and continue on with the service. Why do you come to church? Ponder this question for a moment. I know I've already given away the answer I'm aiming for this morning with my title, To Know and Be Known, but ponder for a moment anyway and consider this question. Why do you come to church? Perhaps you show up because the people here are willing to partner with you in the work of justice. Perhaps your passion is building a better world, and in this place, there's folks who do it with you. Perhaps you show up because you crave intellectual stimulation, and the sermons are intellectual enough, most of the time, to keep you showing up. Or you find the classes and workshops and discussions fill that need to have fresh ideas and challenges. Or maybe it's less academic and more about intellectual honesty. You want to not have to pretend to believe this or that to be allowed to participate. Perhaps you show up because you're trans or gay and it's just too rare to find a religious community that welcomes you. You can attend and not have to hide parts of yourself here. It could be that you just really like the music. The choir or Vicky, our music director, or guest musicians that we bring in to play. Or you just really like to sing and you're welcomed into the choir, or just to sing the hymns out loud, in public, and nobody's staring at you funny. Or maybe it's the opposite. Maybe it's not the music, but the silence. Where else in your life do you get to sit with other people in silence for over a minute? I know the Quakers in the back are like, only a minute. Perhaps it's even more personal than that. Perhaps you come to church because you feel a little lost, or you're hurting. And being in a spiritual space that accepts you is a balm for your weary spirit. Maybe you show up because it's one of the things that helps you stay sober. Or because you have a friend that drags you along every Sunday because they don't want to show up awkwardly all alone. Or because your kids drag you along and need you to be here. They need some religious place, at least that doesn't teach them that they're sinful and bad. There's lots of reasons why a person might come to church, to this congregation. You may have several answers to this question yourself. I suspect for many of us, one of the answers is about community. Everybody wants to be part of a community. We want to belong. People don't usually join Unitarian Universalist congregations to be forgiven of their sins, or to be taught the right way to believe, or because their family expects it of them, maybe when they're 10. But other than that, like as an adult, they don't show up because they need to get into heaven when they die. We come, more often than not, for community, to be together with other people who share our values of respect and curiosity, compassion and justice, truth and love. Our work as a congregation is to establish these ties, to build these connections, to create this congregation together. There are many reasons why you who are here have chosen to keep showing up. You may be here for this amazing music, this uplifting message. You may be here for the stories, the rituals, the candles, the silence. It might be for the free coffee. I don't know. Or something less tangible, like that feeling of belonging, of being part of something larger than yourself. For community. My colleague Cynthia Snavely once summed up our faith saying, "Connection is our holiest word." All around us, there are forces pulling us apart. We live in disconnected and alienating times. There are powers that want us isolated and lonely, so as to be more easily manipulated and controlled. And I don't mean this on a conspiracy theory level. It's just a common way that our consumer culture works. We're better consumers when we're isolated and lonely. Of course, then there's this other layer on top of that is our current politics driving us apart and keeping us distracted and angry. As Unitarian Universalists, we make a commitment to reconnect. Our distinctive religious work as a faith community is the work of connection. Our work as a faith community is to create a space where people can know each other and be known. So how does that work? What does it look like when it's working? Well, here's the rub. You have to risk something. In our reading, Cole Arthur Riley says, to admit your desire to be known would mean acknowledging the shames asleep in you that says you aren't worth knowing. Our hunger to belong is a basic human trait. As such, there are countless ways that hunger is manipulated and used in the service of others. The risk is in trusting that a community like ours will not do that. Well, how do you learn you can trust a community? You test it. To risk a little or to do something that is lower stakes that does not make you as vulnerable. The work of building trust and developing an authentic community of belonging is long, slow work. We've been at it for a long time, and we are keeping at it. We're not perfect on this count, but we keep building and rebuilding trust together because we know that that is our true work. So to shift from the abstract to the specific, allow me to give a few examples of what I'm talking about. Low stakes ways to risk trusting this congregation are all over the place. Like just attend Sunday morning worship regularly. That's certainly a good thing to do. If you attend worship regularly, it's not a significant risk. On the other hand, how well do you get to know each other during this hour? Certainly we're holding silence together. We're listening to amazing music and an uplifting message. Work with me on that one. The candles of joys and sorrows, that ritual will open some invitations of being known, of connections with other people in the room. But most of this hour of worship is preparation time for the connections that we make outside of this hour in our congregation. To really become known, to deepen your relationship with this community, it helps to do more than just show up on Sunday mornings, to take the risk of participating more. Join the choir, host a table at the art and gift show, or help in the kitchen, or serve food at one of the beloved community events. Become an usher or join the caring team. One reliable way to establish ties, to really become a member of the community, is to serve in some fashion, to offer your gift, to volunteer, to be of use in some way. The other reliable way is to receive. The announcement this morning about chalice circles that we're going to sample right after the service, that's an example of receiving. Joining a chalice circle, attending a class or a workshop, signing up for a book discussion, these are all ways to engage and probably learn something new. But as important, these are opportunities to meet people and to get to know them and to be known. Unitarian Universalism does not work well as a spectator religion. We are here to build community together, to participate in creating what we are as a congregation together. You have a role in that process. Some risk of putting yourself out there in the giving and the receiving that creates this community of connections that we have so that we all thrive. A couple of generations back, a great Unitarian theologian named James Luther Adams said that people come to church for ultimacy and intimacy. This yearning for ultimacy that Adams was talking about, questions about who am I? Where is my place in this world? How is this universe unfolding with me in it? These questions of ultimacy are not done in isolation. To seek ultimacy and intimacy is not two separate endeavors. You do this together because we are social creatures and we need each other to be fully ourselves. Wrestling with life's ultimate questions is best done in community. Our rich connections lead us into deeper meaning that we long for in our living. Our well-being thrives when we find spaces where we can know and be known, where we have connections with each other, where we can risk having ties that nourish and lead us deeper into ourselves in the service of that which is greater than ourselves. And isn't that why we come to church? Come, let us build this congregation together that we all may thrive. In a world without end, may it be so.